Hi, I'm Richie Mackay.
And I'm David Bolt, and you are listening to the Wrong Bias Podcast. And on today's show, this one is a little bit of a gap filler for our 24th podcast. We're in not so good circumstances at the moment where there is just not a lot happening in bowls. We don't want to just be putting podcasts out for the sake of putting podcasts. Obviously at the moment we've got no bowls results or anything like that, but Richie does have a little bit of a roundup today, and we just have general chat about a few topics just to keep things ticking over. Next podcast, we have got a little bit of a new concept that we're actually going to discuss later in the show, and hopefully we'll get a few volunteers who want to join us. And we have our regular competition sponsored by Alex Marshall Sport.
Right, here we are again, mate. Show number 24. Wedding anniversary, it's Opal.
Opal.
Now, the only thing I can think of with Opal would be Opal fruits, mate. That'd be a cheap wedding anniversary present, wouldn't it, mate? Can you imagine? Happy anniversary, flower. Here, Leanne, here's a packet of Opal fruits.
Well, I've taken the purple ones out, love. Sorry.
Congratulations must go out, mate. Scotland's Para Bowls have named their squad for the 2020 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, and our old mate Gary Hood's getting selected, mate. So tremendous news.
Tell you what it is, it's unbelievable what these guys get when they appear on our podcast, lad. It seems to be every time they go on our podcast, they end up getting something.
They do, mate.
Where's ours?
I know there's 9 of them in the England squad.
Yeah, fantastic. No, great for Gary. He regularly keeps in touch, Gary, and I keep track of him on Facebook. And great news when I saw that. Really, really good news.
I know when we had his show, he was hoping he would get picked. So I'm sure he's got a smile like a Cheshire cat.
Absolutely. I know it was a tough one for him, because if I remember, he was humming and hawing about actually wanting to do it.
Yeah.
But I know he was sort of giving a little bit of a push, and I'm sure he's glad he's done that now.
Yeah.
And
well, if you're listening, Gary, we'll look forward to raffling your blue jacket if you get one.
Absolutely. And your gold medal.
And your gold medal, of course. We wish you the best of luck, mate, and we're over the moon for you, son, over the moon. Obviously, since the last show, mate, the indoors did get underway for a few weeks. I think I've had one indoor game and then got knocked on the head. Doesn't look too good, mate, does it?
No, it's... I think there's still clubs operating, but obviously from our point of view up in the northeast here, it's clubs were pretty much told to close the doors with immediate effect, weren't there? Guidelines from the IBA, which had come from the government. So yeah, it's a real tough one, really, really tough period. This.
Good.
Now it doesn't seem, in some respects, it doesn't seem 2 minutes since we were talking about this in March and saying how long do we think this is going to last, and then started to make progress and things started to ease up. Clubs have done a fantastic job getting, outdoors and indoors, making sure that everything was in place so that people could get back onto the bowling greens, and then up until the other day, we're now back into a sort of a similar situation, and it must be really hard for clubs. I mean, for those, I'm sure they all know about it, the one saving grace that potentially there is, which I heard the other day, is I believe there's £3,000 available every 4 weeks for any club that's been forced to close by the government.
Right.
I did hear when Boris was talking the other day, I think it had gone something like £1,500 every 3 weeks, and they decided to increase that to £3,000 every 4 weeks. So I would imagine a lot of bowling clubs would fall into the category of what's needed for that. So it's going to be big decisions for club. They've got to look at that and say, well, does that compensate what we would potentially spend on electric and gas, and some really big decisions. It's so hard. It must be awful for those concerned.
I just think for the likes of the private clubs, for the ones that don't open at all, I would like to think that the club members would still think about paying the membership fees, because they've just got to remember that the clubs were there for them. They've had the good times, and without the clubs being there, they'll have no balls. And indoor clubs have still got to pay bills, mate, haven't they?
Exactly, and we saw a very similar thing outdoors. There was a lot of clubs that asked, and I've got no doubt they won't get a full 100% of people coming back and saying yes, because, money's tight at the same time. That's another thing. With all of this, money's really tight, jobs is being lost, etc., etc. But for those who can, you're exactly right. They've got to think about the long term of this. This is not just a short-term fix. This is to ensure that the facility's still there once we do, again, keep turning around and saying it, get back to some sort of normality. And there's got to be a lot of appreciative thoughts about what work's been done by the committees and by the workers in the clubs, just to be able to get them back in the first place.
And of course, the AIBA sadly had to take the decision to cancel the national competitions again for the full season. So that was a blow for the sport, and they were hoping to run last year's competitions in November, but that's obviously been shelved, and they're hoping to run it April next year.
Well, I sort of, when the AIBA cancelled the national competitions, I looked at it again from the opposite side. I know it's a frustrating thing, but one thing clubs are really, really going to have to work on in the future is actually retaining their existing members and getting their existing members to actually come back.
Yeah,
I genuinely thought that you had a lower chance of people actually coming back if your existing members knew there was people travelling in from other clubs to play national competitions, etc.
Yeah,
which opened up a lot of possibilities. And when it happened, I thought, well, hopefully clubs will really take this by the scruff of the neck and organise internal, like a lot of outdoor clubs did, do things that they've maybe never done before, run some different things. But then just as you get there, then you get the hammer blow and you can't even do that. Hopefully a short-term hit will end up benefiting the long run, because, what my job is. I'm there to try and help clubs recruit new members. Something that was a major focus for us going forward is not just recruiting new members, but actually getting their existing ones back as well. So it's going to be a tough period, but hopefully clubs are thinking about it now. Don't just wait until something happens. Let's get the preparations in place so that we're really good to go once we can do.
I hope it wasn't our national predictor competition that put the kiss of death on the national competitions.
I did hear rumours, to be honest.
We'll knock that one on the
head. That's all a lot.
Welcome to Richie's Roundup. Cue the music. The high-performance squads for England, Scotland and Ireland have been named. The England squad is Nicky Brett, Jamie Chesney, Andrew Napper, Ed Morris, Robert Paxton, Louis Rideout, Sam Tolshard, Jamie Walker, Natalie Chesney, Ellen Faulkner, MBE, Amy Gauschel, Sean Honor, Lorraine Kula, Catherine Rednell, Sophie Tolshard and Jamie Lee Winch. The Scottish squad is Stuart Anderson, Darren Burnett, Ronnie Duncan, Paul Foster, MBA, Alex Marshall, MBA, Ian McLean, Derek Oliver, Martin Rice, Claire Anderson, Carla Banks, Caroline Brown, Lauren Bailey-White, Leslie Doig, Megan Grantham, Dee Hogan, Claire Johnson, Stacey McDougall and Hannah Smith, while the Irish elite men's squad is Sam Barkley, Stuart Bennett, Stephen Kirkwood, Andy Kyle, Simon Martin, Jack Moffat, Ian McClure, Martin McHugh, Adam McKeown, Alan Paul, Aaron Tennant and Mark Wilson, with Gary Kelly also added to the squad. News from Bowls England. Entries for the 2021 Bowls England competitions are now being accepted online, and there is a change in the eligibility criteria for the family pairs to enable those related by marriage, husband and wife or a civil partnership are now allowed to participate next season. In the Champion of Champions, clubs can now enter 2 club champions, their 2019 champion, and if any club manage to get a 2020 champion, they can enter that one as well. And Alistair Hollis has been appointed as Team England's Lawn Bowls team leader for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. And now news from over the border. Bowl Scotland has launched its second round of Clubs Crisis Fund to provide support to clubs that find themselves in financial difficulties as a result of COVID-19. Clubs can apply for £500 or £1,000 with the main aim of the fund to help clubs to stabilise and manage cash flows over the winter period. And his hats off to Burnside Bowling Club's Stephen Leonard after raising £1,250 for the Diabetes UK charity by running a half marathon around the club's bowling green. It took less than 2 hours and 127 laps around the green to complete the 13.1 mile target. Now that deserves a round of applause. News from Ireland. Neil Booth's 50 Club Challenge raised £9,320 for the 2 mental health charities. Neil passed his target of 2,500 by a whopping 372%. Cue more applause. And news from the Valleys. Congratulations go to Peter Brill from Merthyr Tydfil Indoor Bowls Club following his election as President of the International Indoor Bowls Council. Due to the effect COVID-19 will have on the IIBC events, Peter will hold the office of President until April 2022. And more congratulations, this time to Ken Burton, the past President of both the Welsh Bowling Association, the Welsh Indoor Bowling Association and current Chairman of Bowls Wales, on being honoured for his outstanding services to charity. Ken has been made a Commander of the Most Venerable Order of St. John of Jerusalem, the award having been sanctioned by Her Majesty the Queen, who is the sovereign head of the order. Cue the applause. And finally, we sadly lost another Norfolk-based indoor club. Following North Walsham's demise, the Woodlands Indoor Bowls Club has permanently closed. Last year's EIBA yearbook stated the club had around 380 members. It's blooper time. News from Ireland. Neil Booth's 50 Club Channel. 50 Club Channel. Take 2. News from Ireland. Neil Booth's 50 Club Channel. 50 Club Channel? Who is this man? Oh well, pass me my roofle. Move along, there's nothing to see here. Changes at the World Bowls Tour as well, mate. This one came out of the blue with Richard Maddison submitting his resignation, which was accepted with immediate effect.
Which, you know, first of all, we always talk a lot about the World Bowls Tour and got our opinions about it, and I've no doubt potentially Richard or Janice has listened to the podcast before and maybe agree or call us every name under the sun. But at the same time, you know, I'd personally like to say thanks to Richard, because he's been there a heck of a long time, and he's, you know, whatever, you know, a lot of travel, a lot of work. I've been down at Potter's where he's looked stressed to hell because of the work that's going on and what needs doing. So, you know, I would personally like to say thanks to Richard. I'm hoping something comes out further down the line, but I'm just a little bit shocked that it was a post or whatever it was, and that was it. Just seemed very, very cutthroat and very, thanks very much, and that's the end of it. Yeah. And I just think for somebody who's been there and done the job for so long, I'm hoping that something a little bit better comes of his resignation, to be honest. Yeah.
Like you say, you've got to pat for all we have been critical at times, but we've also been creative at times as well. Got to give the fella a pat on the back for getting the sport in the position that it has, as in TV-wise.
Yeah, definitely. Because if we didn't have the WBT, we wouldn't be on TV. So we'd be on the back foot. Yes, there's things that we talked about and we feel could be done better. But at the same time, he has been there and he's overseen what's been there for God knows how many years. And Richard's he's a lovely bloke, and you know, I wish him the best of success, you know, best of health and best of success with these. But I'm sure it'll free up a lot of time for him to do other things. And all we can really do is just wait and see what happens in the future with regards to the WBT. Whoever steps in, fresh eyes, fresh thoughts, whatever is it going to be a new committee? I've got no ideas. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, like I said, my thoughts would just be, I hope you know, he gets a little bit of a thank you.
The shorts, Bowls England, they've changed their stance on the shorts a little bit, mate. Previously, you've had to have the Bowls England logo on and you go through them and they're the only shorts that you're allowed to wear. Well, now they're opening it up to allow clubs and counties to wear their own branded shorts, provided they conform with our uniform regulations.
Does that incorporate manufacturers' shorts as well?
To wear their own branded shorts, I would have said you could have went anywhere to get the shorts now, whereas in the past you were probably restricted to go through one company to get the Bowls England shorts.
It just had to be Bowls England shorts, but I'm presuming by own branded. I'm presuming it's, you know, let's say Durham County, for example, we're changing our kit, so I'm presuming whoever makes our kit, which I believe is potentially ACID, we can wear well, saying that Ace are the ones who make the current Bulls England ones.
England
But
one, that's right.
my thoughts are that, your manufacturers out there, you will not name names without showing favouritism, but are you going to be able to wear a black pair of shorts that you can buy from a Bulls manufacturer? And the reason I'm asking this is, and I've literally just emailed about this morning, because a story came up and it was regarding the BMW European Golf Championship the other day. I don't know if you've read this story.
No.
Tyrrell Hatton, who won it, basically wore a golf hoodie, which is really smart, looked great. Read a story this morning, and this one's really close to our hearts because, funnily enough, the golf club in question has been absolutely berated on social media. And that golf club is Cox Green, Wearside.
All right.
This has gone national.
Right.
They have doubled down. I think basically the headline was golf club doubled down on no hoodies to be worn on a golf, at our golf. Now I looked at this golf course. I've been playing golf during this last few months just to change and something different. I've been having a bit look at different clubs, and I actually went onto their website, and I'm not joking. People turn around and talk about Bulls. But I am not joking. You look down the list of what you've got to wear and what you can't wear. They've even got the audacity to say sports socks are allowed. This is how bad it is. And it's like, you can't wear this in the clubhouse. You can't wear that in the clubhouse. You cannot wear this in the... You've got a list of about 20 things before you even get to like the golf club bit. And I looked at it straight away and says, no chance. I couldn't even be bothered with the clout on of walking in there and walking on tiptoes, wondering whether I'm wearing the right things to go for a game of golf. And I've seen some of the comments on social media from members of that golf club saying, I will not be going back there this year. I'll not be renewing my membership. They can stick it, living in the dark ages. And, we talk about Bulls with regards to clothing. Just shows that we're not the only ones. No. There's two sports, ours and golf, that are falling numbers over the years through whatever reason, and yet they're still coming out with ridiculous, stupid rules like that. And it's a great decision by Bulls England to change that, because it opens up a lot of things with regards, in my opinion, more sponsorship could potentially come into the sport, because if you're seeing more manufacturers' clothing or different manufacturers' clothing, you can then start to approach them and say, there's a market here. Do you fancy putting a bit of money into the national championships or whatever? So it had to happen. I think the restrictions on only being able to wear a pair of Bulls England shorts manufactured by them was a bad, maybe great initially, because at least we got to wear shorts, but it had to change. I felt the manufacturers must have been pulling their hair out, making these different clothes, and you couldn't wear it. I did digress, but it just shows simple little things sometimes can make such a big difference. And a simple thing like being able to wear a different pair of shorts or whatever, or just changing the image of the sport can have so many positive effects.
That's right.
And I do genuinely believe that the small minority now within this sport are still hell-bent on trying to hold it back. And I do see it as a minority, which I don't think you could probably say maybe 10 years ago.
Following on the back, the home international series, the women's format getting changed to a top 10. It was announced that Scotland, Wales and Jersey have agreed to launch an annual outdoor over 55 women's international series. Now, it doesn't say what format, whether it's going to be 16 players, 10 players, 8 players or what. But I just thought, they've getting rid of a 24-team event, and they could have introduced this alongside the 24 women's team event, which is something that you advocated during our discussion.
Are we sort of turning around and saying that the over 55s are not going to be able to play in the other series, or is it... if all those 3 teams are part of the series, I'm all for it. I love the thought of tri-series and things like that. Don't get it off the back of reducing the numbers of your international series. No.
Has the likes of Jersey got loads of over 55 women bowlers?
Well, if they have, why didn't they put them in the 24 team? I'm not putting two and two.
We rest your case, mate. We rest our case.
There might be a reason for it. I am sort of stuttering a little bit because I don't know what to say about it, to be honest with you. I still haven't seen anything to show any reasoning for this reduction to 10, the top 10s, but we'll see.
No. There was another thing that caught my eye as well, regarding the Commonwealth Games at Birmingham. There's not going to be an athletes' village, mate. They are going to use, now, I hope COVID's sorted by then, they're going to use student accommodation at the universities of Birmingham and Warwick. Now, the cost of the village was going to be about £500 million. The reasons given for no athletes' village is COVID connected because they kind of get started with the construction work. Now, obviously, you competed in the last Commonwealth Games, mate, and you were in the athletes' village down under. Did you enjoy that experience, mate? Were they running up for your autograph?
Several times. To be honest with you, I was getting tired of it all. I was like, it was a break, man. I just want to get the cakes. I find it staggering that it's got to the point. They must have known about this for 7-8 years now.
Yeah.
I'm sure it gets awarded a long, long time ago. I don't know what the setup of these student accommodations are, but having worked at a university, I don't know what they're going to do, but I hope they make it special for the athletes, because it is a great experience. I mean, It's like standing there stuffing my face with cakes and food and all kinds, and you've got like Castor Semenya walking past you and the Brownlee brothers, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? I'll have to have another cake.
But that must have been part of the experience as well, mate. It must have been part of the enjoyment of it, the buzz.
Oh, it's like you're like, and I'm not degrading bowls in any shape here, because at the end of the day, I've always said we're there at the same level, so to speak, as they are, because you're at the top of your game, whatever it is in your country. But obviously, we haven't got the profile of what a lot of these sports are, so we don't see a lot of these athletes, and so. When you were in there, it is a bit like you're a bit starstruck. Right. It's like getting into the lift with England netball team players, and and you walk up on your landing, and Daly, the diver, walks out of his room. It was a bit surreal, but it was fantastic at the same time. And you get the chance to have a little bit of downtime, and there's table tennis tables and things like that. And like I say, me and Louis Rideout made good use of the 24-hour food bar. And I'm not joking. We used to be sitting in the lounge, and I'd look across at Louis, and he'd give us a little wink, and I just knew. I knew he wasn't again for food, so he used to sneak out and go and get some scramble. I hope whatever they do, I hope they can sort of at least recreate a little bit of that experience. Because in fairness, when we were over in Australia, there was a separate part from the athletes' village where the cyclists were in a different part, because it was a different part of the country. So it was a bit too much distance and things like that. So I can appreciate there's going to be two separate venues, but hopefully they bring something together so that it's an experience, because I think for anybody who's new there and gets there for the first time, it is a big part of it, and it's nice to mix with different people and chat. I can't remember, one of the swimmers who were there, and we were playing table tennis. I think I was playing Sam. One of the swimmers who just won gold came in, and we're having a bit of a chat. And it's just great, you know what I mean? It's nice to just talk with athletes at the top of the sport. So it's a bit of a shame, that one, mate. But like I say, we'll not knock it until we see what
is. It'll be 2 porta cabins for the England Bowls team.
And an outside toilet.
There'll be no seeding going on here. Now, this topic might be a little bit, people mightn't be happy with it, but we all take on board the public perception of the sport has always been an elderly person sport. Recent years, the image has started to change, although turning an oil tanker comes to mind. So, to move the game on to the next level and to get Joe Public to sit up and realise that bowls is actually a physical sport in the real sense and not a pastime, do the top level players need to look like athletes? Now, you like to compare darts and snooker with bowls. Both them sports have had days where you see your top line players on the telly having a fag and a pint. Them days have long gone. Snooker players are smart as a carrot, well groomed. You cannot argue with them. Is it time so the sport is accepted by Joe Public as a proper sport that the top level players look like athletes, mate? I'm not asking for 6-packs.
I think looking at what the elite squad for England, I've seen a few posts recently on Facebook with regards to they've been down to Loughborough and they've been doing more work. I think potentially there might be a little bit more emphasis on that, especially for this Commonwealth Games.
I mean, I'm not sort of like saying it's just England. I'm talking the worldwide image of bowls. You can look at the Australians. The Australians are not athletes by a long way. Some of them.
It's a really, really tough one, because you think of a few bowlers who are multiple winners and top of the sport, and without a shadow of a doubt, they are not refined athletes in any shape or form.
Yeah,
there's the argument along the lines of, obviously, from a playing point of view, as long as you do the same thing every time and your consistency's there, doesn't matter whether you're 10 stone or 50 stone.
Yeah.
For the perception of the sport, I do know what you're saying, because we've talked about it sort of briefly in the past about the fitness side of the sport and how, for me, it's overlooked as to what the benefits really are on a fitness level, not a health and obviously they work hand in hand with each other, but there's a lot of work on a lot of muscles that we use, etc. And there's been, there was something in Vogue magazine a couple of years. I don't know if you can remember. There was something about balls in Vogue magazine.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Was a shock to everybody. What on earth is balls doing in Vogue? But then I suppose if you've got without being sort of sexist in any shape or form, but if you've got a guy who's standing with a ball on the front of a magazine with a tan, ripped six-pack, muscles the size of Nadal's.
You seen me photo?
I was thinking of myself, Rich. I might put myself forward. Put that on the front of a magazine with a ball in his hand.
Yeah.
That is going to catch attention.
Yeah.
Regardless of anything else, if you put the two of them together, it's going to catch attention.
That's right.
You put a beautiful girl, how many people give a stuff about tennis and then started watching it because Anna Kournikova or Sharapova or, it's the way of the world. Unfortunately, we can't get away from it.
No.
It's an attraction, and these type of things for me work on it. So I do know where you're coming from there. Whether it would have a massive bearing, I don't know, but I think it would certainly put the sport in a better light if we saw more physical athletes competing in the sport, a few groupies and things like that. Like I say, with me retiring now, I've had a sack all along. But no, it's a fine line, to be honest with you. And I know you said it was at the start, it was possibly a touchy one, but you will get people who turn around and say that sport is for everybody, which it is, is making that.
Do you go to try to take the sport to the next level?
It's a cosmetic change, isn't it? It's basically portraying and advertising and promoting the sport in a completely different light, which is an absolute thunderbolt and shock to everybody who looks at it. And that's something that needs to happen, because until it does, we've always talked, people will continually have the same perception about the sport. And we've just briefly talked about the golf there. One simple thing that's been posted has gone national because of a stupid hoodie. You know what I mean? And it's like, these are the things that the sport has got to learn to jump all over. And we have got to create national interest somehow. Look at what was his name? Blackball down in Devon.
Right. Yeah.
You got a film made out of it. You got a film made out of the sport. There was an opportunity there. For all he, at the time, it was seen as a massive thing because he turned around and called the president something on the back of the car.
That's right.
But then Mel Smith, I think it was. Was it Mel Smith?
Mel Smith, it was, yeah.
Mel Smith is caught onto the idea and thought, I can potentially make something out of this. No, it wasn't a blockbuster. No, it wasn't blah, blah, blah. But it was a film about our sport.
Yeah.
And anything like that can put us into a different spotlight and make it known that it's not just a pastime. Same old.
Yeah.
Can only be good. And we briefly talked about it with David and Alex in the last show, and this is what I keep bagging on about. Got to do something different, whatever it may be. Shock factor, whatever. We've just got to do something different. We've got to introduce new things to entertain a new audience. And it's competition time. Thanks as always to Alex Marshall Sports, who supports our show. This week's competition, a little bit different. I've got to thank Boyd Dumbrell from Australia, who sent across one of his personalised shirts. Absolutely fantastic it is, so that will be going as a prize. And thanks also to Scott Morland, who described his South Park Darlington shirt as a booby prize. We'll be putting that one in as well. I'm sure it'll not be a booby prize for somebody. And this week's competition question is, bowls has been a little bit in the spotlight this week. The Queen's Birthday Honours List had 2 bowlers who have been awarded MBEs. Can you give me both of their names? If you can send us your answers either by email on wrong.bias@hotmail.com, send us a message via Messenger, or leave us a comment on either Twitter or our Facebook page.
Right, mate, another show over. Bit of a different one, gone solo again, commando the two of us, not literally. Before we go, it would be very remiss of us not to mention the two MBEs announced in the Queen's Birthday Honours List. Ellen Faulkner, Services to Sport, and Margaret Smith for her involvement in disability balls.
Fantastic. And Ellen, I go back many years with Ellen. I'm not going to go too much, give me the edge of it. Ellen used to actually go to university up here. I didn't know if you knew that, but I think she was at Northumbria University. So yeah, I've known Ellen a lot of years, and really, what a fantastic career she's had to date. I mean, Craig, there's a lot more to come there, and just an unbelievable ambassador for the sport, and got so much time for Ellen. She's just a lovely person, and when I saw that the other day, I was absolutely over the moon for her. And obviously for Margaret as well. It's recognition within our sport can only be a really good thing, and it's gone to two people who have done a lot within the sport and deserve probably their MBEs. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Congratulations to you both.
I mean, Ellen's playing career so far, 3 Commonwealth goals, 2 World Championship goals, 5 Atlantic Championship goals, 6 British Isles titles, 14 national titles and 33 county titles. And she's still only 25, mate.
25, aye?
She's still only 25. And if that doesn't get you to come on the podcast, nothing will. So absolutely tremendous.
Unbelievable.
And for Margaret to have been Secretary for Disability Boards England for 16 years, tremendous pat on the back, because a secretary's job is a thankless job, mate.
It is, and it's Disability Boards England have been a battle for them, and thankfully, things are coming to fruition now. And if it wasn't for people like Margaret, then would it be about? So I've got to take your hat off for them, and fantastic, great news for them, and great news for the sport.
Yeah, and Her Majesty, we are still waiting. By the way, the two of us are still waiting for her to be knighted or gelded. Might be gelded.
Gelded, definitely gelded.
I think it would be gelded, mate.
I'll be watching what she does with that sword.
Anyway, before we go, mate, we've for the next show we're going to try something different, and we're going to try a different format.
Yeah, I think as we said at the start, it's a really tough period, this one. There's nothing happening, but we've mentioned a few times about different surveys and things, and getting people to talk about things. We've had a lot of high profile guests on the show, so yeah, our thoughts were to open it up to a lot of the people who take part in our, commenting on Facebook and regularly sending us emails, etc., etc. So if anybody out there would like to take part in the next podcast, we're probably going to have to limit it to around about 10 people via Zoom. So what you would need is to have access to Zoom and know how to use it. But myself and Richie will literally think of some topics, and we will throw it out to an open forum. And, we'll have an open discussion with people at all levels of the sport. And I think it'll be really interesting just to see what different comments come back, and there might be a few arguments in there, hopefully, which we'll monitor, and which will be, it's going to be quite nice to have different opinions. But it's something we'll try, and if it's successful, we'll certainly look to potentially do it again in the future. But I think it's just something different to the norm, and we'll see if it works. So if anybody is interested in appearing on the next podcast, it's our 25th one, which is must be what's that Silver, one? Our mate. Anniversary. Silver anniversary. So for our silver anniversary show, if you'd like to be part of it, then I think we'll go with email on this one. If you wouldn't mind dropping us an email on wrong.bias@hotmail.com and just let us know that you would like to be part of it. What we'll do is we'll probably look to try and do it around about the first week in November. Which do you think? Yeah.
It'll either be the first or second week. Yeah.
Well, I think one thing for certain, there ain't going to be a lot happening over the next 2-3 weeks again. So we'll aim for our next podcast for the start of November. So if you would like to be part of it, please drop us an email, and please feel free to come along with your opinions and anything that you'd like to see on the show.
And for all we're cutting back on the number of shows that we're doing due to the climate, I have to say we're still the only podcast that's still knocking stuff out, mate. Everybody else has fell by the wayside.
Yeah, I think it's possibly just circumstances. No doubt they will come back again. We've seen it in the past, but we had the discussion earlier, Richard, and the whole point of us doing this podcast in the first place was to bring some relevant information and give people a mention with results and give good news out and things like that. And unfortunately, there's just none of that about. So pointless us coming on and rabbiting on about the same old things over and over. So
Grim Reapers.
We can just wait. We'll just assess the situation, see if there's anything relevant to talk about. about it. We've got a few topics, and we'll do it as and when, but we're certainly not going anywhere. And we'll, if you just keep an eye open on the Facebook page or wherever, we will try and update you when the next one's coming along. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that next show. I think it'll be quite interesting.
Right, mate. All good. All wrapped up. Watch what you're doing.
You too, mate. Great to catch up as always, mate.
And we hope you enjoy the show, folks.
Speak soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed the show.
This has been a Dodgy production.